Module 3, GUV References, Standards, and Guidelines. In this section, we explore terminology, use of GUV in disease prevention, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines, Illuminating Engineering Society standards, the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers handbooks, ANSI ASHRAE standards, and guidelines on GUV. Ultraviolet light can be described with different terms. The ultraviolet industry has no standard language or definitions, and depending on the organization or industry group, terminology for ultraviolet can differ. This creates a lot of confusion. So examples of terminology that are used in industry can include germicidal ultraviolet, abbreviated as GUV, ultraviolet C-band, abbreviated as UV-C or UVC, ultraviolet germicidal irradiation, abbreviated UVGI, or ultraviolet C-band specific to wavelength, abbreviated as UV-C 222, UV-C 254, UV-C 265. In this course, we will use germicidal ultraviolet, abbreviated as GUV. The use of germicidal ultraviolet in disease prevention. Years of experiments and observations led to the discovery that ultraviolet light can help reduce the transmission of diseases. Specifically, the ultraviolet UV-C region of the electromagnetic spectrum shows the greatest effect on germs in the air. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, abbreviated as CDC, began to publish guidelines on the use of UVC. These guidelines also refer to upper room germicidal ultraviolet, which is abbreviated as UR-GUV. Upper room germicidal ultraviolet is strictly from the UVC region of the electromagnetic spectrum. CDC NIOSH has documents that actually explain how upper room GUV has been used in the past. So since the 1950s, the bulk of the research on GUV has focused on controlling the spread of tuberculosis. So the CDC published guidelines for preventing the transmission of tuberculosis in healthcare settings with special focus on HIV-related issues. Now, these documents were updated to a current guidance document, which, although it seems older, but the most current guidance is from 2009 on the design, installation, testing, and safe operation of upper room GUV systems. So the title specifically is Environmental Control for Tuberculosis, Basic Upper Room Ultraviolet Germicidal Irradiation Guidelines for Healthcare Settings, 2009. On CDC's website, though, you can find updates to some of these guidelines that provide additional information. The COVID-19 pandemic prompted changes, and CDC NIOSH updated their website in two areas specifically for GUV applications. One about germicidal ultraviolet, and the quotations are listed here below the websites. So you can find this text as a summary on this website. New is about ventilation and respiratory viruses. This area was also updated, and it is summarized below the web link. IES offers two standards on GUV. RP 27.1-22 is focused on background of UV radiation, emission limits and measurements for risk group determination, system safety control measures for manufacturers, labeling, and safety control measures for occupied spaces. RP-44-21 is focused on types of UV radiation, types of GUV equipment and systems, effects of ultraviolet radiation, design and use of UVGI systems for disinfection effectiveness, maintaining systems and verifying performance, safety measures and restrictions, and they provide an overview systems comparison. ASHRAE has two handbooks that include each a chapter on GUV. One is the 2024 HVAC Systems and Equipment Handbook, and Chapter 17 contains terminology, GUV fundamentals, germicidal ultraviolet sources and equipment, UVC photodegradation of materials, maintenance, safety, and installation and commissioning. The 2023 HVAC Applications Handbook, Chapter 62, contains terminology, UVGI air treatment systems, HVAC system surface treatment, energy and economic considerations, room surface treatment, safety, installation, startup and commissioning, and maintenance. So let's review the key points of what we just discussed. The ultraviolet industry has no standard language or definitions. And as you could see throughout just introducing the ASHRAE handbooks or looking at CDC NIOSH guidelines or the IES standards, the terminology is used interchangeably. Some use UVGI, others UVC, then there's GUV. So bottom line is germicidal ultraviolet, GUV, is used to help prevent disease. CDC NIOSH has guidelines on the use of GUV. IES published recommended practices on GUV applications and safety. And ASHRAE has two published handbooks, which each include a chapter on GUV applications and GUV systems and equipment. These guidelines and standards offer a good resource on GUV as needed.